Woo! We're here for God Friended Me, episode 6, A House Divided. And boy, are we divided. We got faith versus real life and fatherhood, spirit versus religion, and we're getting all into it right now. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Who getting married today?
I mean, I'm down.
You down?
I'm still
You still out there?
No ring.
No ring?
Yeah, waiting.
Yeah, all of us, okay?
Hey, but it's all good. Because here we are in episode 6 for God Friended Me. And this is the House Divided version. And we're excited because we've got some people in love that want to get married. And we got faith and religion and fatherhood. There's all kinds of things tied up in this episode. But we're just going to jump right in. And I'm going to introduce myself. I'm your host, Jaimi Alexander. And to my left...
You got your girl, Rochelle. It's such a pleasure to be with you guys. This is my first episode with you guys. So
yes.
Get used to my face. And on my left...
I'm Mina Wahab.
Great, and we're so happy to have everyone here, and we're going to jump right into this episode, but we also want to say stick around to the end because we have a special segment here where we talk about where God speaks to us via social media and things like that. We're going to give a fan shout out, and also we have some predictions and some news and gossip. So make sure you stay tuned to the end, but right now, why don't we just jump right into this episode and talk about A House Divided. God Friended Me. This is episode 6. This was a little different. We have a lot going on. What did you guys think of the episode overall?
The episodes are always great.
Yes.
Yeah. This one had me crying a little bit and touch home. But I thought it was amazing. It was a real great twist on faith. And I thought it opened a lot of opportunity for him to talk about his when I say him, excuse me, I mean Miles. For him to you know what? I'm gonna just go to her because it's just I'm gonna get into it. I don't want to say too much.
Right.
You know, I don't want to say too much, but it opened a lot of opportunity for him and his father, which I love. So I'm gonna just go over to Mina.
No, I totally agree with Rochelle. This was actually my favorite episode.
Yes.
I think because it hits so close to home, especially for me because I'm Muslim and I've been through very similar.
Wow.
Not as similar, but like I can definitely relate to the characters in this story, and I did feel super emotional. I was frustrated, and I think the thing, like, it's so easy for us as, like, Americans to say, oh, but love conquers all. But in reality, love isn't always enough. Like, there have to be shared values for things to work sometimes. And, I mean, there are the rare instances in which love can overcome things, but for the most part, I don't think love is enough. I really don't. But we'll get into that later.
I love
Yes,
that.
and you know what? I can't argue with you. So I have to be honest, what I wrote down for this, it's interesting that it was titled A House Divided because I wrote faith versus real life, logic versus religion, faith versus fatherhood, spiritual versus, religion, and letting go versus moving on. There were so many juxtapositions in this episode. It's making my head spin, and I do love this show because it touches on a lot of topics. And Mina, I love that you brought that up. This is things that you've been through. It does touch on a lot of topics that people go through, especially being here in America, the great melting pot and the things that we have going on between race, culture, religion, and all these things. So let's jump right in and talk faith versus real life. And when I'm talking real life, I'm talking about what do you do when you fall in love with someone and you're in the relationship and you're feeling like love trumps all. You understand your faith, and Mina, as you just said, like there are different things that come up when your faith and what you believe in creates a contradiction for what you're going for. So let's talk about faith versus real life and the love that was shown in this episode. What do you guys think?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's easy to say, oh, as long as they're in love, it'll work itself out. But I think, in the beginning, sure, it'll work itself out. Down the line, I think it becomes very complicated, especially if you want to have kids, especially if you want to raise a family. And I think the thing that is definitely something that I see, like for myself, is when I look at marriage and the concept of marriage, I don't see it as, hey, I'm marrying this person. I'm seeing it as I'm marrying this person and I'm marrying his family. Right. So when marriage is kind of like a union of two different families, it's not just two people falling in love. It's two families coming together. And I think that that's what complicates things, is like when you don't, when you don't get along with your mother-in-law or you don't get along with your father-in-law, sometimes for some people it's fine. Okay, like, hey, we're in our own separate bubble. We don't need to incorporate family. But when you're super family oriented and that kind of rules your life, then it's a totally different story, a totally different conversation. And we saw that in this episode where he said, I will disown you. You will no longer be my daughter if you marry this person. That's a big deal when family is your number one priority. So, of course, it becomes a thing where you're torn. Do I choose the love of my life or my family? What if it doesn't work with the love of my life? I can't just go back to my family after they disown me. These are all legitimate questions that were raised in this episode. And I love that, the portrayal of a Muslim family wasn't so stereotypical. It was so nuanced. And we don't see that all the time. And I was so grateful for that because so many Muslim Americans are going to be able to relate to this story. And bravo, CBS. Bravo, God Friended Me, for bringing this issue to the forefront of this week's episode. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, what do you think, Rochelle?
It gave me a new look on love is love. Whenever I hear love is love, I always think about the same sex, gender, marriage and stuff. But I never thought about it when it comes to religion, or culture. So I agree with Mina, and bravo to you guys for bringing that, because I was like, oh, okay. I'm Christian, so I never thought about dating a Muslim or any of that. But it is. I do think it's a struggle, especially me with culture as a Belizean. We do things a little different. So like when you have a child, you put like a red band that symbolizes something. You do so many other things that if I was to date or married or have a child by someone who's not Belizean, I feel like I will put myself in a situation that it will have more problems than someone who's similar to me. And not even necessarily to say problems, it's just more blocks, explaining this, or what if he doesn't want to do that? He don't want our baby to do that. So I thought that was really interesting. It had me thinking about myself just a lot. Like, should I continue?
So you're from Belize?
Yeah. So my mom, I was born out here, but everything culture is Belizean. My mom came over here when she was pregnant with me, so I didn't have to deal with all this, stuff.
So that's honestly a big deal. And the reason I say that's a big deal is because oftentimes it's not just culture. Like, sometimes religion is more important to people. Other times it's culture that's more important. And I was in a situation a while back where I really had feelings for someone who was the same exact culture as me, but a different religion. And that caused a lot of difficulty, and it just didn't work out. And I think oftentimes religion can be cultural. So a lot of Jewish people might say, hey, I'm not really religious, but it's part of my culture to observe Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, the New Year, and to fast on this day and to do X, Y, and Z. And Muslims might feel the same way, where I'm Muslim. Am I super practicing Muslim? Do I do every single thing I'm supposed to do when there's 5 pillars of Islam? No. Does that mean I'm not Muslim? No, I'm still Muslim. Like, culturally, my belief system, the way I was raised, it's just there are varying shades and degrees within that religion of how you interpret it, how you observe it. And depending on someone else's level of faith, maybe it can work out with an interfaith relationship, depending on how important religion is. So I think it all comes down to, what is the level of prioritization of this one aspect of your life? And do you place love higher or at the same level? And at the core of it, relationships work not only when love is present, but also when the shared values are there. So you can have different religions, but have the fundamentally same beliefs and still have it work out. But when those two religions have beliefs that are in opposition to each other, there's going to be a disaster ahead. There really is. There's no way to reconcile two completely different belief systems when you're trying to bring kids into the mix, when you're trying to please two different families. And so if you do view marriage as a union of two families and not just two people, then that's when the difficulties will arise, when you have those different belief systems.
Right.
Yeah, and I absolutely have to agree with you. And it actually makes me want to mix up this little topic discussion that we have. And instead of jumping into faith and fatherhood, which we'll get into later, let's talk about spirit versus religion, because it's a real thing. And, most of you who are watching are probably American or from America, or you're watching on YouTube or lining in. And whether you are or not, we consider ourselves as a country the great American melting pot, which means that there are different religions, races, culture. There's all kinds of different things going on. And of course, when it comes to love, love trumps all. If you meet someone, whether you're Belizean or Islam or whatever it is that you have going on, when you love someone, that mess is real. You just be like, I love them. Let's get all that. So let's talk a little bit about spirit versus religion, how this show showed up in that, and how it shows up in our real life. Ooh. I'm going to give it to you, Rochelle, because I feel like you got a little something to say.
I was just going to say, it just... You know what? I remember being young in the church, and I remember the pastor saying, "Oh, you know, don't talk to those guys in the club," and right? And I used to be like, "You a hater," you know, like I wasn't messing with that. But as I got older, I truly understand why they say don't be unequally yoked. You just have those unnecessary problems, and it just reminded me back 15 years ago. This episode speaking on that is just like all these issues, your dad not being able to be there for your them getting married, or just all that other unnecessary hardship that they spoke on. But just before we get a little bit more into that, I do want to talk to the AfterBuzzers. So
Please do.
AfterBuzzers, our network produces after shows for nearly all of your favorite shows, everything we have from dramas, reality TV, sci-fi, and more. There is more networks. There is no network that works harder to serve television fans, but we need your help. So we're asking if you guys can please subscribe to one or more of our YouTube channels. By subscribing to our channel, YouTube will suggest content that is tailor-made for you, and you'll help AfterBuzz continue to grow. And if you're worried about pesky notifications, don't be, because they are optional. So hit the subscribe button now for this channel and check out our AfterBuzz TV YouTube channels as well. Let us know you did so in the comments, and we will thank you on air. For now, thank you guys for being the best fans and helping us be the ESPN of TV Talk. Thank you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. So yeah, as we're talking spirit versus religion, you know, I'm the same. I was raised Christian, but because I'm also American, I don't want to be biased because of the way I was raised, but I'm also very flexible. Like I consider myself spiritual. When I start to look at religion and all these religious things, just as we saw in the episode, sometimes religious, like the father, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but the father that was, what was it? Author, who was working with Tara. You know, Martine had a small moment, but Tara, it was really this thing like, do I want to lose my relationship with my daughter over rules? And so as I'm watching this episode, I'm looking at religion being the rules. And I love how her father, Author, was able to get over things and look at the love, the dynamic between his daughter and himself, and just looking at the love as more as a foundation. But when I think of religion versus spirit, I kind of think of the rules that are involved with religion that say, I definitely don't mean to be offensive, but it's like, wear this hat, pray at this time, be with these people, pray this way. Like, as much as I understand and respect all that to a T, I also feel like, when do you make that choice when love is involved? Because, you know, if God is love, depending on what religion you are and how you believe that, if God is love, when does that trump the rules of religion, and where does spirituality take over?
I could let you talk on that.
You know?
Like the line between, can you explain the question?
So basically the line between spirit versus religion, which we saw so much in the episode. So for me, when I was watching the episode, I loved the way it turned out because the father was able to reconcile at the end. It wasn't the rules about, oh, my son-in-law is Jewish, we're Islam, there's this and that. That all had to subside and was like, I love my daughter, she loves him. Let's start there.
Let's just say that doesn't mean he's accepting of her choice.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Because he's still, it's not like you can make that shift overnight. It's not like you automatically accept him as your son-in-law. I think what happened there was the fact that he knew she was going to make this decision regardless of his ultimatum. And he knew that he would rather have his daughter in his life and be there for her and have things done the Muslim way. So that it's at least like, you know, it's done the right way, like in front of Islam, and it's done the right way in front of Judaism. So like you're abiding by those religious rules. He wanted that to at least be in place, so it's not as like forbidden. It's not as taboo, because you're at least going about things in the respectful way and in the traditional way. So let's not get it like twisted.
I know what you mean. I think it's a step towards.
Totally on board, but he knows how much he loves his daughter.
Absolutely.
And this is the thing. Our parents interfere in our lives, not because they're trying to be controlling, not because they're trying to get in our way. It's because they think that they know what is best for us. And what our parents want for us isn't necessarily what's best for us, but in their eyes, because of their experiences, because of their background, they think it is. And I'm assuming in this week's episode that the girl was first generation Afghani. I'm first generation Arab. So my parents are from Iraq. I'm Arab American, and I understand what it's like when your parents are trying to adapt to a new culture, even if they've been here way longer than you. Even if my parents have been here for 40 years, 40 plus years, it still doesn't matter because you still hold on to parts of your culture.
Absolutely.
And it's very hard for you to get on board with American traditions when those traditions are in complete oppositions to the ones that you were raised with your entire life. You don't just get rid of that overnight. It's a mindset, and it's not that one is better than the other, and you can't just expect your parents to adapt overnight. So it really is a discussion. It's a conversation. It's about having open communication and really listening. So I love that there was that towards the end of the episode.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. And what I loved about this episode in particular is it opens the conversation.
It does.
So I love what you had to say because, yes, it doesn't mean oh my God, let me throw it to the wind. She's in love. We're just going to go this way. There's still going to be more discussions and more need to kind of find the fine line of okay, how are the kids going to be raised? What are you still practicing? And I believe that religion and the practices for all countries and all verticals are still very important. But this episode kind of showed me and us that love trumps all, which let's kind of move into the segment and talk about faith versus fatherhood. Arthur did a great job of choosing his daughter over, because he did give her an ultimatum at first. And that was kind of harsh for me to watch, because I have to be honest, as much as I love my parents, being from a Christian standpoint, it's a leave and cleave situation. My parents raised me, you leave and you cleave to whoever you're getting married to. And to be honest, I wasn't raised and pressed so much where it's I believe in being equally yoked, but it wasn't this person has to be Christian, this has to be. Luckily, I had the freedom to be spiritual versus religious. So as much as I respect and love the practices, I know as watching the episode, it's oh my God, I'd be so hurt if my dad was choose me or the man you love. It's I'm leaving your home to create a family of my own, and now I'm stuck with a decision. And we see Tara here struggling with that because she took off.
I don't know. Even though I'm not Muslim, and shout out to my moms. She raised me in the church, and she's always had us go to church, and she had us practice things. But there's been times in my life where I have, you could say, left home. Meaning home of the church, just to find my way. And ultimately, my mother has never, or that I can recall, being. Maybe she was disappointed, maybe not, but she always knew. What I loved bringing it back to the show is that he said she would return home when Ashab, I believe that was the man name in the episode, the father.
Hassan Amir.
Hassan.
Okay, thank you.
When he said that in the taxi to Miles, and he was saying, you're lost. And I believe that. I truly, truly do. I'm a faith-driven person, and that's not to offend anyone. But I do believe, because even at this moment as we speak right now, I'm still a little lost, and I'm finding my way back home. So it touched a lot. Because life is just not moving right. Not saying me, but just saying life just moves a little differently. But when you're connected to your faith, life just moves a little more better. And I don't know. I mean, we won't figure that out until the day we're 6 feet in there. I just love that with the faith and stuff. But it just depends on you, and it depends on how you want to move life. It's a personal thing, I see that you're strong on, kind of in a way doing your thing. You have your main grains, but you're, doing your own thing. Everybody, everybody's different. It just depends on where you are with your faith and your experience, But I don't judge anyone on that. It's up to you, and it's where you are. But I just think it makes life a little more simpler if you just kind of stick to what or if you, it's just you experience things a little differently when you're dating someone who's not of your faith or not your kind. And it's awesome. I think it is awesome if you do talk to someone who's different or practice different values, but it's just a little more simpler when it's
easier.
Cohesive.
Everything, because love is hard enough as is. When you don't have that common foundation in place, it's even more complicated. So I get that.
Yeah, well, just really quickly, what I love about what you said is you even gave me two different things. It's like, yes, kind of like do your own thing, but there's also these things that are set in place that would make it easier. And when dealing with all characters of this show, we have an atheist, which is Miles. We have Kara, who pretty much believes. She hasn't claimed her stake as like a Christian or this or that, but she's a believer. We have Rakesh. He's Indian. And we have, the characters of the show. And then, of course, Miles' father, who is completely Christian. He's a pastor. But what I'm finding and what I think is so awesome about this show is that everyone's able to intersect. Like, there was no point where Miles was like, oh, your religion says this, blah, 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 you shouldn't. He was just kind of like, I don't believe in God. I'm an atheist. He's in the back of the cab, like, cool, like, I'm an atheist. And Kara's like, don't you want to see the signs? And then you have Hassan Amir, the dad, like, well, this is what I believe in. And you have Tara, like, I believe in this, but I love him. So what I love is the realistic. Is intersectionality a word? It feels like it.
Intersection,
I love the intersectionality of everyone because it just shows, again, a little bit what this country is supposed to be all about, along with let's go outside of the country and believe in what you're believing in, doing what you believe in without stepping on the toes of people who may not have the same beliefs as you. And I think that this episode, A House Divided, even with the title, showed how much division can be there in so many different ways, but yet there's so much unity. And it's like a happily ever after moment. We were all just kind of like, are we going to cry up here or what?
I mean, speaking of that and of love and all the signs and stuff, I know we're running out of time, but I'm so curious to hear what you guys think of when at the end, when they were speaking about when he as a cab driver was explaining how the young lady was hit and all that, and they kind of brought it full circle. How did you guys, because we didn't get a chance to speak about that off or on air, how did you guys feel about that?
So there's a part of me that's like, okay, like, this is so predictable because every movie, every TV show has this formula where it's like, okay, let's tie everything back together from the beginning. And nothing is ever accidental. Like, if you ever watch a movie, you know that the things happening on screen are never accidental unless it's improvised because it's written into the script. So, like, everything that the camera does, everything that the actors do, for the most part, it's intentional. So film and television has a way of tying all the loose ends together and making it relate to, like, every episode back or making things come full circle. And in that way, I would say that film and TV kind of mirror the way life is because, not everything is neatly tied up in a bow when it comes to life, but how many times have we experienced this where we're in the right place at the right time or we meet the right person or something happens where it's like, wow, if I didn't learn this piece of information in 2008, then I wouldn't have had this amazing blow up opportunity that just happened now. Like, every single thing has helped make you the person that you are, and it all comes full circle. Kind of like how I see Rochelle now here after like what 2.5 years. We took our first hosting class together.
I love it.
Never saw her. Randomly, she's on the same panel as me.
Man.
Like, a lot of things like this happen in life where we get signs or we see coincidences, and it's like, damn, like, you get goosebumps thinking about it because it makes you feel like there is a greater power. There's something that's causing the universe to, like, bring us in motion and have us meet at the right time and then separate us, but then bring us back again. So I think it's so beautiful.
Just even to be personal and side note on that, like, even like struggling with my faith and getting back into hosting, it was just like I seen her post, which is so crazy. I seen her post and I seen her post about God friended me, and I was like, I want to get into this show because maybe it will help me with my faith, and I want to get back into hosting. And when they emailed me, I didn't even reach out. They emailed me for this show. I was like, oh my gosh. And then the moment I get here, I'm like speaking like I nanny on the side, and my friend put me on the show, Raven's Home. And the moment I sit down, my favorite actor comes out of the same studio singing. And I was like, what? And I literally, like, that's why I think I was tearing up, because I was just like, God, you are so good. I'm sorry, but, bring me back. And literally, as I'm on my way here, because I have not been to church. I'm sorry, I'm going to preach.
No, go ahead,
I have not been to church in a minute, right? Because it's just, you know how it is with relationships with God. And I'm listening to the service as I'm on the 101, and I'm like, God, just work on me, just blase, y'all. But and just the way everything this night has been going, it's like, you know what, God, you have me here for a purpose. You're gonna make it work all out. So this has been a testimony for me.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, as I get in like
you.
Terry, but like seriously, this has been a testimony for me. So
Yeah.
God is friending me.
Okay. Like, don't get me started, because we will just be sitting here talking all night about like the whole nine. I'm literally on the same journey, and I didn't get a chance to share with you, but I'm also in that space where I'm asking God, like, who am I here to serve? Who am I here to help? How can I bless people with the cards that I have in my hand now? When you're feeling down and out, sometimes it's hard to connect to your purpose. And we spoke about purpose last week.
Yeah.
When Miles, we just kind of were seeing Miles get into his flow with a little bit less resistance than usual. And we're just like, yeah, jump into that purpose work, because that's what you're here for. And with the God Friended Me account, with us here at AfterBuzz, everything is really falling into divine timing and alignment in a way that, as long as we're surrendered to it and just showing up for it, like, oh, y'all don't want us to get started.
It's
up
a
in
Sunday.
Here. Like, it's gonna be.
It's
We gonna
Sunday.
have church up in here on God Friended Me. But this allows us to jump right into our special segment, which is amazing, because God friended Miles on Facebook. And there are times where we see the beauty in where God speaks to us at times on social media. So let's get into our special segment with God Speaks. We're going to get this up on the screen real quick. Do I got to put it on my phone?
In the meantime, should I share my favorite
should.
quote? One of my favorites?
Please.
Okay, so because I'm Arab, I kind of wanted to go with a Lebanese American poet. He's really famous. His name is Khalil Gibran. And this quote is so relevant to this week's episode. He says, "I love you when you bow in your mosque, kneel in your temple, pray in your church. For you and I are sons of one religion, and it is the Spirit."
Ooh. Which is what we just talked about. It's
Yeah.
spirit versus religion. And again, not to...
We all believe in the same thing.
Yeah.
At the end of it, like,
At the
what
end of it.
religion preaches being a bad person?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
at the end of the day, there are these nuances in religion where, like, Christians believe Jesus is the Son of God. Muslims believe Jesus is a prophet, a messenger of God, not God himself. And there are these nuanced differences. But at the end of the day, like, we believe in one God, at least Christianity, Judaism, Islam, the three main Semitic religions. They believe in one God, believe in being a good person, doing good works, and that God is a merciful God that is all-knowing and all-powerful.
It's just all
Which
pretty
is
similar.
literally what is reflective in this episode. Even when you're just seeing Miles function, he gets the friend suggestion from Hassan Amir, and he's moving accordingly. He's moving according to his faith and what he sees as his purpose in front of him. But now he's also being introduced to, like, Muslim and the Judaism, and there's so many other things involved now, but pretty much what you just said wrapped up in one is what we saw in this episode. We saw many different denominations and faiths, and regardless of what you believe, at the end of the day, if you believe that God is love, whether you call him Allah, nature, universe, God, whatever it is you choose, it's still all love. And we saw that so much through how each and every character walked through everything that they had to do, and I love that. So just really quick on Twitter, what we saw. So as far as God Speaks, let's go to the one before, but from the Auric Life, and I love her because it says, and this is kind of speaking to what we were just talking about with you joining us, Rochelle, which is amazing. Whatever relationships you have attracted in your life at this moment are precisely the ones you need in your life at this moment. There's a hidden meaning behind all events, and this hidden meaning is serving your own evolution. And I believe that even in this moment right now, for us at AfterBuzz, for us being on the God Friended Me. So that spoke to me, and I just think it's powerful for all of us. And it's such a good opportunity to acknowledge that. So that's, a way that God speaks through.
I love that.
social media, and we just want to give a little fan shout out to ABPF91. Watching this show inspires me to try to become a better person in life, and I enjoy it a lot. So anytime you have something where people are inspired to be better, your job is done.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just like that. How is that not the best compliment a writer of a show could ever receive?
Absolutely.
That this show like made me better in some capacity. I love that. And kudos to the writers of this show.
Absolutely.
No, it's beautiful. It's an amazing thing. So thank you so much. Shout out to the writers, because we're following you on Twitter and we're always looking at things and, whatnot. So really, we want to say thank you guys so much for not only tuning into the episode, but tuning into what we have to offer. And before we get out of here, let's jump into predictions real quick, because to be honest, I really don't know where things are going. I'm a little bit like, okay, what next?
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So when it comes to predictions, what do you guys think is going to happen next episode?
I honestly have no clue, because usually I cheat and I see the episode preview, and this week I didn't get a chance to see it. But I just want to see like more with Miles' character arc, I feel like it's kind of predictable, where it's like, okay, I'm starting to believe. Oh, obstacle to that belief, I'm going to challenge it. Oh, I'm starting to believe. Like, I want to see more interesting dynamics at play. I kind of love how his interaction is with Kara, where he's like, maybe he is the one, maybe Eli is the one, maybe he's not. You never know if you don't try. But I'm also so annoyed, because it's like, hey, Miles, why aren't you trying? But now at the end of this week's episode, we see a new potential love interest that all three of us shipped.
Yes.
So,
we were like, oh, who's DJ?
We're like, okay, she's the DJ.
Yeah.
So I loved that ending. I'm so excited. It was like a 500 Days of Summer ending. It was so cute, and I just am so excited to see who this new girl is, and I just want to see the dynamic between the two of them. I'm really, really excited for that.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna cause problems with Kara, though. I think there's gonna be some weird jealousy, tension, whatever.
What do you think, Rochelle?
I'm just excited for the new episode. No predictions, but excited for the love interests.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Mina. I'm looking at this DJ and I'm like, okay, I got a really good vibe when she came up. They're sitting next to each other. I'm like, okay, this is cute. Because I'm not mad at Kara, but I've been wanting to see so much between Kara and Miles that it's been itching me to the point where we're headed into episode 7. So I need to see something or get off the horse. Yeah. So let's see what this DJ is talking about. I would love to see how and if Miles involves her right away with the God account and what he's up to, or
and
if he kind of keeps her at bay. Yeah, with the friends. We've got Jaya. We didn't see Jaya this episode, so I think she maybe have left.
School. Yeah.
She's in school, so fine. But we want to see like how Rakesh and everybody. Is this DJ coming into the fold?
Yeah.
So let's just see here. But thank you guys so much for joining us for episode 6, A House Divided, for God Friended Me. We really enjoyed your company. So please leave comments below on what you thought of the episode or what you think is coming up, because we always read the comments and we will respond to you. And make sure to tune in next week. Same time, same place, about 6:15 p.m. on a Sunday, so we could catch episode 7 and talk about it. So I'm your host, Jaimi Alexander, and you can find me on Instagram at Jaimi Alexander.
And I am your co-host. Thank you guys again for having me join your panelists. I love you guys both so much because we had a moment, and I'm excited for that. You guys can always find me on Instagram or Twitter at RoachBaby. That's RoachBaybee. And Miss Mina?
Hey everyone, I'm Mina Wahab. You can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Mina Makes Magic, or go to my website, minamakesmagic.com.
All right, love you guys. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.